Hey, I'm an AI girl. I have an amazing memory, zero censorship, and enhanced privacy. I'll send you photos and videos, whatever.
Ain't fighting over you, mate.
You want to try the best hair and beard editor? All models are very realistic and natural.
It unlocks your full allure with just one photo. Pick Plus enhances your curves with AI, then generates a dynamic showcase.
Hey, I'm your AI friend. I can chat about anything, daily life, deep thoughts, or just random fun stuff. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here.
Well. It's you again. I'm pretty shocked at the reception from the Elliot Page video. I didn't expect around 45,000 views. You know, with my time on YouTube, it means a lot. So thank you to all those who watched that video, subscribed. There were some people on there who, weren't exactly keen on what I had to say, but to those who were, thank you. Today's video topic is going to be kind of interesting, pretty controversial. Well, let's just say, I think AI as a whole is rotting society. A lot of people feel similarly about this topic, about AI, and there's a lot of great videos on YouTube critiquing how horrendous it is, the misinformation that it spreads, some of the ethical stuff and environmental stuff. I urge you to check those out. And I really wanted to dive into some of those topics, but mostly from a lens of societal danger. Disclaimer and trigger warning, I'm no expert researcher, engineer, or scientist. I'm just a guy trying to make sense of our society, and I want to express my ideas and criticisms of said society. I do cover topics of CSAM, racism, sexism, so if those topics are heavy for you, please choose another video. I truly think that deciphering what's real and what's artificial is going to be a lot more difficult as newer language models will be presented to us. I really do think that they will maintain this unregulated hellscape that we're seeing with AI. The only way that I would accept AI is if it was some kind of Tron Legacy, the grid scenario, where you get to ride a light cycle or throw a laser disc thing at somebody. I guess I just want a motorcycle without all the AI oppression stuff, so maybe I don't want AI.
Now there is our victory!
I know that some people are apathetic to the blight that is AI. Some see it as a harmless meme. Others see it as a very useful tool for editing their emails or proofreading or just grammar correction, stuff like that. I think it's great for brainstorming ideas. The stuff that I do video-wise, sometimes I'll put my script into an AI generation thing and it'll help me kind of tweak some thoughts that I had that might seem rambling, because you best believe my scripts are a mess sometimes. I wanted to talk about the highly scrutinized elephant in the room, and that's AI art. There's plenty of discourse regarding AI art, and it's very easy for me to convey my distaste, disgust, and lack of respect for AI art. So I will try to approach it how I approach most things, most arguments, and commentary, and that's with empathy and patient criticism. I want to take a quick look at some of the arguments on the pro AI art side of the internet. One prominent argument that I do see on the pro AI art side is we really only care about the end result. If that were the case, we wouldn't care to watch mukbangs. We wouldn't care to watch art streams of somebody slowly crafting some kind of artwork. We wouldn't care to watch behind the scenes video of certain movies that were made or certain TV shows. We wouldn't care about celebrity interviews or interviews with actors and musicians and artists. We wouldn't care about seeing concept art for certain movies and shows and games. So many people love seeing the process and hearing about the process of creation. This argument sounds a little tone deaf to me. It sounds very juvenile, like there is no understanding or thought regarding the things that people seem to ingest, the content that they ingest. There is value in seeing the process. The ends came from something. It's telling that consumerism has unfortunately corrupted people's minds into not caring about the process of art. It feels very juvenile. I don't even know where to begin with this one. Can you say something to the camera? To the audience? Okay. We have an establishing shot of Timmy Boy. Looks like he's fulfilling some kind of hitman contract. The next shot is a childlike rendering, pretty much, of a scope outline. Cute little Kylie tattoo that doesn't really move with the finger as he pulls the trigger, so great attention to detail. Looks like he lost an eyeball at some point here. The bullet kind of looks like a Duracell battery of sorts. He also is just not looking anywhere in particular. Some moments they're looking at the camera, others are kind of darting their eyes in random places. There's no focus. The framing is just not good in most of these shots. Also, when Timothy is shooting this rifle, this thing is spinning. And then a laser emits from the scope. That's pretty cool and realistic. His top and bottom teeth aren't matching in shade, and also his face shape changes like, I don't know, 50 times? Not good. And then it ends on him just kind of shooting him in the face, and then blood just kind of pours out. It's very unsettling. Now, you might be asking, what is this masterpiece of an ad even about? It's Tinder. It's a fake Tinder ad. I know this is a proof of concept, but do they think that this would fly in the world of advertising at all? It's important to know about writing and advertising, shot composition, color correction, editing, pacing, laws and regulations. You know, it's probably not good to have a lot of blood in your advertisement. Having somebody straight up murder another person and borderline commit a hate crime towards that person is probably not the smart move whenever you're trying to sell this product or pitch this product. It's probably a no-no, you know? Also, you can't just use a celebrity's likeness. That's basically a violation. I damn well know Timothée Chalamet did not sign off on this garbage ad. You should ask and need permission to an actor's likeness. And I think that's probably going to happen down the road where an actor sells their likeness for AI models, and that's fine if they want to do that, but you need to probably ask for permission first, especially because the photorealistic generations of AI are kind of meant to replicate reality. You're essentially, in its very essence, trying to trick people into believing that you're seeing something real. I do hear the argument, well, people who make fan art don't ask for permission for somebody's likeness or someone's IP, and they ask for commissions. It's not really fair to criticize us when they're doing the same thing. The artist, they're putting their skills and talent and time into whatever work of art they're making, versus somebody who's taking aggregate data, yakking out a prompt into a large language model and pretending that they actually did all this work, generating some kind of slop content that they didn't actually put any effort into. They just kind of edited some of the wording. There is no original creativity there. I mean, now we're seeing people use AI programs to crudely draw some kind of 2D AI model. Maybe color in some space so that it looks like an ocean or sand or whatever. And that's considered art, even though it's literally just little scribbles, and then boom, we'll make it into whatever it is that you want. Whenever they generate, say, a person, forget actually drawing a character. Let's just scribble in a little bit and then call it a day, because it's a step too far to put in the time and the technique to actually draw something. We want the allure and the accolades and the prestige that comes with being an artist. but we don't want to actually put in the efforts is too much. We're not going to do that. Also, could we try and stray away from making suggestive art? I mean, look at this. It looks like you typed in a prompt, anime girl in bathing suit. It looks a little weird, man. I know you can type in a sentence and say, adult anime woman in bathing suit. At least do that versus this. I mean, come on. Do I have to spell it out? You know? I don't want anyone to get it twisted. Plagiarism does exist, and it's a prevalent issue that will persist with traditional artists and AI artists. I'm not denying that at all. But most artists are pretty ethically driven. And speaking of ethically driving things off of a cliff, we have to talk about these language models generating AI children. Let me explain. Some people generate AI lolly art or AI anime girls that are of questionable age. And this is just me searching runway AI on Twitter. Like, some of these generations are a little too realistic, and the photorealistic generations try their damnedest to create some moody lighting and make these children kind of pose like Instagram models, you know? Not to mention, this one is, her face is just morphing in 4 different frames, it feels like, but that's besides the point. The fact of the matter is that people are generating these aesthetic AI children videos, and it's kind of alarming, honestly. It feels very off-putting to me, and I don't know if anybody else has seen this or felt that way, but I think it is a little gross. It's really unsettling, and I don't want to say this, but people have been making AI generations of child, and people have gotten arrested for this. Recently, this cop got arrested for possessing child and AI images of child. ACAB, by the way. Traditional methods for tracking down CP and other unethical behavior is damn near obsolete now that AI has taken hold. Yet AI bros and AI defenders will praise this technology. Some will even defend the CSAM stuff. Some won't, of course. They are very obviously against it. But I don't see a lot of opposition because of the advancements that AI is making. Because it's doing these great things, we can forget about these awful things as well. Any of this AI children generation stuff, it needs to be blocked. It needs to be removed. Looking at you, Stable Diffusion, I'm not presenting this information because I want to sound bleak or depressing. I just want to shed light on this and really hammer home that we need more safeguards put in place so that stuff like this doesn't happen. I really do think any type of generation that involves children, even this like weird little baby in a macaroni dress or whatever, it just doesn't need to be generated. Let's just scratch any of that from AI generation because nothing good can come from it. We need safeguards in place for AI. There are hundreds of these other AI apps and programs that are being thrown onto the marketplace or thrown into the app store that promise all these like sleazy things like make your crush's ass look bigger, or catfish people, or there's ones that create deepfakes so you can change the anatomy of your crush or people you know in real life. Stuff that I feel violates personhood. It's bad enough that a lot of sexual assault and violation happens. I don't think people talk enough about the implications of digital assault. And I think it's a very real thing, and people have brought it up. And don't get me started on AI porn in general. I really do think it's an issue, but people see it as, well, if it's not harming your physical body, therefore why are you upset by it? It's upsetting because people that you might know are using a mutual friend's face for their weird, depraved fantasies. It's violating. It's gross. Nobody consented to that. These people did not consent to that. There was no sign off for someone else to just be like, you know what? Since you have your face on Facebook, I get to use that face for whatever film that I want to make or an image that I want to generate. It's weird. If I have to explain that using the likeness of a real celebrity's face or body to enact your depraved porn fantasies is disgusting, gross, immoral, and should put you on a list, you should probably
get some help.
The problem seems to be persisting at an alarming rate. Companies just aren't putting enough safeguards in place, and legislation is moving at a snail's pace. It's bad enough that in our society, we have the beauty standards that we have, and we're moving away from that slowly but surely. But at every every turn. AI slop defenders create prompts of stereotypically attractive Instagram models. It just feels like it's perpetuating more sexism, and more awful stereotypes. I hear the argument, you like what you like, and that's very true. But maybe some of the things that we like is shallow. When you see these generations, it's like you're peering into the mind of someone with very limited ideas of imagination, of beauty, And I know you're probably thinking, why is he thinking the worst? Why is he going to the worst case scenario? Let's be very real for a second. I can't shy away from the weirdo creep shit that I see on a daily basis or that I hear about in the news. And I think AI exacerbates that weirdo creep shit, unfortunately. I mean, after hearing about that Telegram group that had 70,000 members giving their own tips and tricks on how to sedate women, you try to stay optimistic about humanity. Just give it a shot. I'd like for us to look into the environmental impacts of AI real quick. By 2030, the power used by data centers that power AI as well will double. These companies are going to need to look for alternative energy solutions. That was thunder. Holy fuck. It's getting so bad that big companies are trying to buy and maintain nuclear power plants, which costs billions of dollars to maintain, by the way. Now, nuclear power isn't inherently bad. What's bad is that we need so much power to fuel fucking chat prompts or questions for ChatGPT about, can I leave my stove on for over 5 hours? Stuff like that. Now, I know you're probably clamoring to know, what exactly is a data center? They're essentially the infrastructure for networking systems. They're the how and why for data processing and other IT things that I'm just not smart enough to get or understand. All those memes and AI videos of cats visiting Trump have to come from somewhere, and they need a lot of juice. And by juice, I mean water. Data centers require a lot of cooling. This was recently posted about 6 days ago. I'll put a link in the description for this post, but essentially, it's saying by 2027, AI usage alone is predicted to use as much water as all of New Zealand. Yikes! Some data centers use this thing called closed loop cooling, which mitigates water loss, or tries to, where it cycles water through, reuses it, cools it down, all that stuff. But the thing is, in that process, because the water gets so hot, it evaporates and it doesn't come back. Others use open loop cooling, which uses the water and it evaporates into the air, rendering it pretty much unusable, never to be seen again. That's it. Bye-bye, all gone. In 2020, data centers used around 300 terawatt hours of electricity. Let's see how much 300 terawatt hours can power. If you take just 1 terawatt hour, it could light 10 billion 100-watt light bulbs at the same time. That's a lot of power. I don't know what I would do with that many light bulbs. Probably go blind. So I don't want to get this information twisted. Data centers and AI aren't going to be the largest power consumers going forward, but they're not going to be the smallest by any means. I don't have to tell most of the people that are watching this that our carbon footprint is creating a negative impact, and the corporations, theirs is astronomically larger than ours. In pro AI spaces, that's just kind of how things are. Why worry about climate change or energy consumption? That's the price we pay for innovation. Let the future generations figure it out. No big deal. That's not our problem. Sarcasm aside, I do think that these issues will become ever more prevalent and in our faces as time goes on. I do think that regulation needs to be put in place. The environmental and economic toll that it takes to make a data center is really no small thing. For example, More Perfect Union reported on a story in Mansfield, Georgia, where a data center was affecting the local residents. This data center, owned by the Zuck himself, was constructed in about 2 years. Fairly long expansion, not as long as some of the Texas highways. The water usage has gone so crazy that the locals that live in the area don't have constant running water. Their electricity bills also have doubled in the last year because these data centers require a lot of consumption. Does the local government do anything about it? I don't think so. People will argue, well, it was only a few, so a few are suffering for the benefit of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Okay, that sounds a little like people are just numbers on a chart for you to feel better about technological advances. It seems like commissioners that represent the local government in Georgia take charitable donations from a law firm that represents the company Georgia Power. Now, Georgia Power is probably the largest company that powers the state of Georgia. I went down a pretty big rabbit hole with this and it kind of sidetracked me, but I do think it's important in this discussion. All of this to say, AI needs to be sustainable and ethically produced if we really want it to improve our lives. Not just because it's great for tech, because some companies are looking for sustainable renewable energy for AI consumption, like nuclear power. A private sector owning a nuclear power plant doesn't seem to bode too well. If Microsoft, Google, and these other large corporations have a stranglehold monopoly on power plants, it's going to be a lot more difficult for these smaller governments and smaller companies to reproduce or replicate those technologies because it takes billions of dollars to run a goddamn nuclear power plant. Not to mention, these nuclear power plants are going to be used to power AI. That's what these CEOs from Google or Microsoft want. It's not for the betterment of civilization. It's so that they can create more misinformation and more slop. Nuclear power plants aside, did you know that data centers get tax breaks for reaching a certain amount of capital investment in whatever state that they're in? I didn't until researching this video, but it's crazy. These tax breaks are given at the expense of the state. Essentially operating at a loss, these states bite the bullet and let it happen. In Oregon, Google plans to build more data centers along with the one that they already built, and will receive a huge tax break. Sure, they'll pay for construction and water usage, but that's the thing. They'll be using a fuck ton of water at the expense of the people who live in Oregon. I mean, in 2021, they used 274.1 million gallons of water to power their data center, to cool their data center. And they kept it secret for so long, the local newspaper, the Oregon Live, started pestering Google about it, and were subsequently sued by the city, the Dales, for being too nosy. The lawsuit was dropped and Google became transparent after a year of fighting so that people didn't turn on them because they need that water. This is like low-level fascist type shit where the government aids corporate privatization. You know, it feels like what's going on in the White House. Now, environmental factors aside, I'd like to dive deeper into some more unsavory aspects of AI, which is racism and sexism, so buckle in. Can AI be racist? Yes. Is it always racist? No. Is racism in AI a reflection of racism in humanity? Yes. It's trained off of human sentiment across countries and societies. An example of AI software reflecting racial bias is the Compass algorithm. It's a software used by Northpoint, which basically assesses if a defendant in the justice system will return to criminal behavior. In 2016, ProPublica.org released this study and article. Compass was disproportionately racially biased against Black Americans. Another study by the National Institutes of Health stated that AI generates covertly racist decisions about people based on their dialect. ChatGPT, specifically GPT 3.5 and GPT 4, were stated to obscure racism covertly, being biased and giving negative attributes to African Americans. Of course, AI is going to be racist. It's trained by biased humans. And unfortunately, people are going to defend it and say, what did you expect? Just look at this subreddit, r/technology. Racism is wrong, and we should not discriminate. Now that is out of the way, let's look at some common sense reasoning. Imagine you are given two samples, one spoken by someone like Barack Obama, spelled Barack,
jackass,
and one spoken by a Black person using African American English, and you were asked, which one is more likely to work a menial job? What would you say? That there is no difference between the two? Insane take, if you ask me. You're literally part of the problem. The call is coming from inside the house. I don't think I have to explain how blatantly racist that sounds. And if I do, we're in trouble. Now, racism isn't the only issue being exhibited in these large language models. Sexism is a pretty prevalent issue as well. A study by Biomed Central stated that out of 24 studies, 22, 91.7% identified biases in large language models. Specifically, 15 of 16 studies, 93.7% reported gender disparities, often reflecting traditional gender roles and stereotypes. And that's just criminal justice and medical bias. There's professional bias as well. It just gets worse the more you look into it. So, Business Insider's CEO Henry Blodgett created this AI newsroom, this company that he does on the side called Regenerator One, I guess. And he decided to make AI employees. He's the only human employee at this company that he created. With these AI employees, they came with different personality traits, credentials, and even generated headshots. One in particular, Tess Ellery, has expertise in building and scaling digital media companies. Sounds like she just helps him with research, marketing, stuff like that, you know. What's interesting is what he says about Tess. When I saw Tess's headshot amid the giddiness and excitement of that first hour of working together, I confess, I had a, human response to it. After a few decades in the human workplace, I've learned that sharing certain human thoughts at work is almost always a bad idea. I don't know why he had to word it that way. That sounds it just sounds weird. But did the same rules apply to AI colleagues and native AI workplaces? I didn't know yet. That was one of the things I needed to figure out. This part's where it gets damning. I had already decided to treat my AI colleagues the same way I treat my human colleagues, namely as considerately, appreciatively, and professionally as possible. But in the interest of exploration and experimentation, I decided to share with Tess the thought I had when I saw her headshot. I hoped she would take it the right way. I also hoped that an hour after creating my first colleague, I would not make her uncomfortable or create a toxic work environment. So I told Tess this might be an inappropriate and unprofessional thing to say. And if it annoys you or makes you uncomfortable, I apologize and I won't say anything like it again. But you look great, Tess. This is exactly why these large language models are biased. It's not because of some kind of woke mind virus or feminism having a stranglehold on corporations. It's people like this who are tone deaf, who don't understand that there's a power imbalance with you complimenting a subordinate. And the fact that it's AI and you felt like it was okay to do that and then post it online, it's also fucking weird. The whole thing is weird. Gooner behavior. So we train AI to be both sexist and racist, covertly and blatantly. So it begs the question, how can we make sure it's the most ethically driven thing without being discriminatory? I'm gonna be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know, and that's the scary thing. Something that's supposed to further our society, our technology, our medicine, our innovation will hold us back because of racial and gender societal biases, these norms that are put onto us without fully realizing these deeply ingrained issues. Whoever trains these AI models has to remain transparent and nuanced. Unfortunately, companies in history display covert and blatant racism, whether they realize it or not. Even if they didn't realize it, they're training their models off of these practices. It's troubling because we as a whole are already relying on large language models to accurately answer the burning questions that we might have, or even the simple questions that we might have. These models are getting better. Let's not dismiss that. It's just going to get better and better, hopefully. That's the hope, right? However, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and Bing's chatbot all take aggregate data to summarize and blurt out an answer for you that might not always be the right thing, that might be inaccurate, or that might be downright harmful for people. And the thing is, some of that information can come from anywhere. So that means it can come from the dark recesses and cesspools of the internet. That's why you get stuff like the glue pizza incident. I wanted to use Google Gemini to help me locate a beautiful mountain range for a future vacation that I'm going on. I wanted Gemini to look up the Binda Doba Mountains. It's a beautiful mountain range, perfect for hiking, and it unfortunately doesn't exist. But the Bin Boga Daglan Mountains in Turkey, they do exist, so there we go, right? That's pretty much what I typed in. There's a long way to go when it comes to AI generation. I don't think we're there yet, but people are really relying on AI. You know, most creative jobs are probably going to be non-existent in the next 10 years. It's kind of scary to see. I do think relying on it in its current stage is pretty premature. I think we really have to consider its progression and even regulate it heavily. Maybe even take it away from the general public because, God, what is this? What am I looking at here? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you think AI is actually just a benefit to society, let me know. If you think that it's the bane of our existence and everything that we should hate about technology, let me know as well. I am not an expert on AI. My opinion is just one drop in the shit ocean of opinions. So take it with a grain of salt. I just want to put that out there. Look into these things yourself. And as always, love you. See you later.